I know I said I wasn't going to buy any more radios off of eBay, and I really don't intentionally look for them. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of vintage radios on eBay at any given time, and there's really nothing I'm looking for. I don't have a bucket list or wish list of radios. There's a few TVs I wouldn't mind getting someday, but not really radios. However, I do peruse the forums, like the Antique Radio forum, periodically, and there's a section on there where people talk about interesting things they find for sale online. Well, I also spend many hours in front of my computer while working and doing programming and whatnot, and occasionally I get bored, so I will go look on eBay, and turns out that there's a collection, I guess, being liquidated on the West Coast, and quite a few nice radios, generally all in really good condition, and are pretty much all either $39 buy it now or $39 for the opening bid. Well, one in particular was interesting, and I'd never seen this model before, and somebody posted on ARF that, hey, somebody should get this. It's in really nice shape, and you don't see it too often. Well, it was one of those buy it now, $39, and this guy had a good reputation, packed things well, and didn't sell garbage, so I bid on it, and it just arrived, so I am going to unbox it. Once I get this out of the box, I think it will be obvious, at least to my regular viewers, why I wanted to get this radio. Oh boy, lots of peanuts. And the radio's all this big, so yeah, so what they did is bubble wrap the radio and then put in a sea of foam peanuts. Not exactly double boxed, but not the worst way to go either. Boy. Let's see, I'm going to grab an empty box to put these peanuts into. I think the seller said it was working, but I don't know. I never trust that. And there are no pictures of the inside because it has a back on it. And I guess I didn't want to take it off. So no, I have no idea if it was restored or not, if it really works or not. Now I always prefer that it doesn't work and it hasn't been restored, because then I get to do it. And I know it hasn't been monkeyed with. Newspaper wedge in here. This came from California, so had a bit of a distance to travel. Quite a mess to clean up, but as it was. Actually, is bigger than I thought it would be. Actually, maybe this is double boxed. No, okay. They put heavy paper stock around the radio, and then large bubble wrap, and then small bubble wrap, and then foam peanuts in the outer box. good idea, because I have heard cases where the plastic bubble wrap can kind of stick to the finish and screw it up, especially on refinish cabinets when the lacquer hasn't 100% cured. So having this paper against the finish can probably help with that. My number one concern is no longer a concern, and that is that the bezel would be damaged, because that is the most interesting thing I think about this radio. Alright, so what is it? Well, it's a Motorola. And the reason I wanted it is that it has exactly the same logo and knobs as those Motorola TVs that I've got so many of. So, for example, here is the logo from one of those TVs. And I have a blonde VT71, actually I have several. And it's not exactly the same finish. The blonde VT71s, well, let's see. It's pretty similar. They're a little bit lighter, but it looks like the same type of kind of shimmery mahogany veneer. I think they look pretty good side by side. And the knobs are the same type of creamy knob. A little bit different diameter. This also solves a riddle, or a mystery for me. I have some knobs like this which aren't small enough to be fine-tuning for the TVs, but they're not large enough to be the volume or contrast knobs. Similarly, I have several of these, which are not quite right for the channel knobs on the TVs, so now that I know this, they are from this radio. So, AM FM radio. So this is the same logo and all that. It's before they came out with the stylized, or different type of M. It's got to be from the late 40s. And I especially like this dial bezel. So did the guy in ARF who pointed this out. It's probably made out of tenite, and so often that tenite gets warped over time, and these are all twisted and messed up. And if you're lucky, reproductions are made. If you're not, you can try maybe heating it up slowly and kind of bending it back into shape. But this one is perfect. Grill cloth, pretty darn good. A little bit of discoloration here. And here's just where the speaker is, so it's not really discolored, it's just because the speaker's behind it. Here's the back. It is a model 77X something. M2, I think. This probably has to do with the finish or something. It's a transformer-less set. There's a tube line up. I'll get the camera off the tripod so I can take a closer look. Alright, so here's a better look at it. So original finish, quite nice condition. A little discoloration here, but I'm not going to strip this down, no way. That might buff out. Little steel wool and maybe mineral spirits for a little lubrication. So I presume this is marbleized tenite, and then there's clear plastic. Just kind of interesting, these are actually raised. So somehow they melded the marbleized plastic with clear plastic in a rather interesting way. And boy, is this thing clean. I'll be careful with this top because this curved veneer, I can tell, is quite thin. This top is really, really thin. I don't think there's any bracing inside there. So this is similar to that Emerson AM FM radio I restored recently, in that it's there are 3 wires in the power cord, with the 3rd wire being the FM antenna. So if you disconnect this, you can hook up an external one. Otherwise, you use the internal AM loop and FM. I think it might be the same tube lineup as that Emerson 602 as well. Back's a little bit cracked here and there, but not too bad. So I guess next I'll take these screws off the back, take a look inside before I would think about powering it up. Assuming everything looks alright. I don't see any reason why not to hook it up to the PR57 and try to do a power up. Nice little tag, 77X-M22, circa 1948, just like I thought, late 40s. The power cord is really stiff, like it's been coiled up for many, many years, so I got a feeling the solder didn't actually plug this in. Speaking of a plug, somebody filled it up with hot glue or something like that. But it is a vintage looking plug, so I don't know what that's all about. This is probably the original power cord. Top of the cabinet just popped up a little bit when I loosened this screw up. I hate radios like this. The antenna on the back is hardwired in, and there's no plug or anything that I can see, so there's no way to get the back off completely without unsoldering the wires. So, have to get a look inside. Some wood dowels on the back they use for spacing for the screws that go through the back. Chassis in there kind of cockeyed. It's pushed in further on this side than on the other side. I suppose I can take care of that by loosening up the screws on the bottom. Inside it looks very, very clean. And I don't know what this all is about, but I've never seen anything quite like that before. There's a tuning cap. That's straightforward enough. Filter electrolytic, kind of wobbly. So I don't think I'm going to plug this right in that without taking a look under the chassis. So just a slight coating of dust, and that's it. The speaker looks good. So this, yeah, what is that? Okay, those aren't tubes. It's this. Tubes are scattered around. Huh. IF? Some sort of tuning cavity for the FM? I don't know. Alright, well, I'm going to go print out the service info. I know it's available in Nostalgia Air. And see about removing the screws and pulling the knobs off and getting the chassis out of there. I just discovered why the top deflected a little when I took the screw out, and that's because we've got some separation here, so I put some glue in there and clamp that back up. It's about the only thing holding this thing together other than this very thin curved veneer. There's just a corner brace and a piece across here. There's no other bracing up inside here. There were just 3 bolts holding the chassis into the cabinet. Look very similar to the ones they used on their TVs. Looks to be in good shape except for a crack in this, which I guess is a light diffuser. I don't think I did it when I took it out. I was pretty careful. It may have cracked long ago. I don't think it's a huge problem though, even if this had to be replaced. It's nothing fancy or complicated. Just a bent over piece of translucent plastic. Here's the gigantic dial lamp. It's like a old-time Christmas lamp bulb. I think it's okay. I know it's discolored there, but I don't see any obvious signs of the filaments burned out. Time will tell. Now, as far as what is that thing, I took a quick look at the schematic, and I think it's a ganged variable inductor. So 3 variable inductors inside there, and it's for the FM tuner. Found that the service info is actually in this Beatman's 1947 FM and TV. TV was so new that they didn't really have enough to cover in this volume, so they included FM radios as well. And this is the HS102 chassis. So it's this guy on page 121. Yeah, well, that sure looks like it. I guess they use this cabinet for a few different models. So this is actually a different model or a different chassis. This is the one that I've got. So that thing, I believe, is this, and this. Whereas a variable capacitor is used for the AM radio. So right up front, same as they use in their TVs, a 12AT7 for the oscillator and mixer, or as they call it, the FM converter. Then we've got a 4.3 megahertz IF, kind of odd, usually be 10.7 on a more modern radio. Then a converter for what they call BC, broadcast, or AM, and it's also double duty as the first FM IF. Another 4.3 megahertz for the IF, paired up with 455 for the AM. Another IF stage, another 4.3, and then finally a discriminator, and another 455 IF. And then they use the very common 19T8 tube, which is the combination rectifier and, well, it's kind of complicated. It's an AM detector, it's a dual diode for an FM discriminator, and it's a triode for the first audio IF, and 50B5 for the power output, and for rectifier, the selenium down here. So series wired set, of course, no power transformer. Wow, that pilot light, man, 117 volt 10 watt bulb right across the AC line. Quite often these would be wired in series with the filaments to provide a bit of a soft start on power up. So we got some caps right across the AC line. Those should be replaced with safety caps. Another reason I'm not crazy about just turning this thing on, because those tend to go pow. Alright, let's take a look underneath. Well, what do you know? It has been recapped, at least partially. And they did a decent job. They used all the same type of cap, which I can't quite make out the brand, NTE, which I think is a company that makes OEM replacement parts. And they put heat shrink tubing over every lead, which is nice, but for whatever reason, they left a bunch of the original caps in place. Which is kind of a pain, like for here, because while you'd have this one out, you'd want to replace that one. Now that it's back in there, I gotta somehow kind of reach around inside there. And I'm not sure about those caps on the AC line. This might be one of them, which I definitely want to replace. But if that is, I'm not sure where the other one is. There's those 3 coils, I guess. Looks like they're silver plated, and it looks like this one might have an integral cap in the base, which looks like it would be a nightmare to replace if that really is what it is, and it's got silver migration issues. And another old cap, so we still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, at least 8 old paper caps. So why somebody would recap half of them and leave the other half still in there? I don't know, maybe they just replaced them one by one till the radio sounded okay, then they stopped. And the electrolytic's down here. Well, I can see why it's loose. It's because, although it's a twist lock, none of the lugs are soldered, and it's not really twisted over that extreme. So it should be really easy to get out of there. When the outer can is grounded, often they will twist these over and then bend them over and solder them to the chassis, and they're a real pain to get out, but this looks like a piece of cake. Also means to be able to test it, just on the off chance it might still be okay and I could reform it, but I'm more inclined to just replace the darn thing. Well, I'm glad that even though it's been recapped, I still have plenty of work to do on it. I looked through the rest of the service info, and very conveniently they include a parts locator, so I can see exactly what this would have looked like before any work was done. Right away I noticed that there was a selenium rectifier there, which has been replaced. There's a little terminal strip down here, and I added a diode and a 33 ohm resistor. So whoever did this work did do a pretty neat job, which kind of makes me think that probably is okay to power this up at least briefly, because this work couldn't have been done all that long ago, because these are fairly modern looking caps. A few other interesting things. One is the band switch, so between AM and FM mode. That's this inner switch here. When you turn it, it slides a gigantic slide switch. This entire thing along the back side here is a slide switch, which has kind of twisted and warped over time, so I don't know how it'll hold up over time, but for now, it's kind of hard to turn, but see, it's a thing going up down there. There are contacts in here that switch in and out various coils, short things out to take them in or out of the circuit. So, before I monkey with that anymore, I'll see about lubricating it or trying to straighten things out. And here's the power switch, which is kind of a silly way to do it. So you turn this outer knob and it just has a lever going over to it, just a plain old slide switch. And then here's the volume pot. More typically you would see a volume pot with a power switch on the back of it, and it would be a concentric shaft. I don't know why they went with this crazy setup, but whatever. Now, as far as the FM tuner, for sure these are slugs. When I tune this, to the needle moves, but this entire deck goes up and down along with the tuning cap. Well, that's pretty nifty. Glad this mechanism is functional. So I'll tell you what, I got my PR57, so it'll be isolated, I won't get shocked. It's got built-in fuse, a circuit breaker, and I can monitor the current draw, so I am going to attempt to do a power up with this. I'm going to do this while it's on its side so I can get a look at both the top and bottom. Okay, it's off. Your 57's on. Current mode. Oh! I guess this was turned on when I plugged it in. Or does this power switch not work? The power switch doesn't work. Well, it's not drawing very much current, that's for sure. 1/4 of an amp. Static.
The person who needs the organs, but
well,
sometimes people
does indeed work.
Donated organs and they feel the
This must be the AM mode. That's Gary Meyer on WGN.
Now that you're going to put the telltale heart in. I have
sounds pretty darn good,
conflicted feelings about this. But if
mortgages that sold to investors before the 2000
at least
55 minutes after the hour on the
WIND.
Michael Show.
fantasy football, so go to Draft Street.
DNA. So if you get someone
In the Midwest is looking to get a little larger.
I'm going to flip this down. Apparently it's not going to blow up. This makes me wonder, is this electrolytic cap the original or was it replaced at some point? I can't tell because the soldering job in here and wiring and everything is so neat, it's a little hard to tell what's original and what isn't. Oh no, the pilot light's not on.
You know, a great thing happened a year ago. We set our objective for sales.
I swore it was on before.
Incredibly, we've already exceeded that objective.
Oh, that's not power, that's
Well, I'll tell you
tone.
what it means. We can afford to keep that momentum.
There is a power switch on the volume control. Okay. Just, I don't know, it looks like it's just a single potentiometer for the volume control is. Yeah, filament's falling off. Nuts. Well, I don't know that I have any more bulbs like this. I think they still make something this size, so I'll have to run out. Got the specialty bulb section. Oh well. I want to check out the FM mode. Very dirty volume control. Alright, so here is FM mode now. Not getting anything. A little dubious with that giant switch that all the contacts are clean and making contact, and I switch it over that. Yeah, dead. Home band's dead. Oh. Something for just a second. Alright, so I got to give a few possibilities. One is that the huge switch isn't, well, some of those contacts aren't switching over right. Or some of the tubes could be bad. There's some tubes that are just for the FM section. Or there's a problem with those variables and inductors, like some bad mica caps. Ah, so it is a funky switch. Heard music for just a second. It was simple enough to find a replacement pilot light at Home Depot, so I popped one in the radio and I've reassembled it. Let's give this another play. I can finally see what it looks like all lit up. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Of course, I still want to take this back apart and do a full recap, but I'll save that for another day. I think I might have left this in... Well, I was going to say I left this in FM mode, but I guess not.
You know, what does that mean? This particular theory, that in establishing the church, Jesus also was establishing his... Here.
Yeah, but one thing that breaks down that barrier more than anything...
One thing that's kind of odd about this radio is I guess they wanted to go with really clean design, so much that there are no indicators whatsoever on the knobs as to what their function does or what the position is. So I have other radios that are AM, FM, it'll be like a dot, and then AM and FM decals, and you can tell what mode you're in. This, you just have to kind of grab a dial and start turning it and see what happens. Or grab a knob, rather.
Eres guapos, ¿no? Radio tonight. I have a friend, go crazy. Radio Disney is back.
Put it on YouTube that we can see this. Like, I'm in Hawaii, I should have seen that move.
There's the tone control. So if I can just get the FM to work as well, we'll be all set, but alas, that's still dead. Just as I was about to take the radio off the workbench, I noticed something. I'd had this PR57 in current mode so I could see how much current the radio was drawing, and just for the heck of it I put it on output to see what line voltage I had it on. Check that out. It's only like 102 volts AC, so I wonder if that might be affecting the FM band. So let's get this up to 117. That's that red line there. And I notice on the AM mode, no effect that I can detect. The volume didn't go up, reception didn't change.
There's been all the law offices of Conisec and Dillon at 630-262-9655.
I hear sound.
Tonight at 10. 2 original reporting.
Could it have been just that simple? I just didn't have enough line voltage. That's why the FM mode wasn't working.
93.9 IFM.
Yeah, 93.9 FM.
You better watch out.
Gotta keep the tuning moving or YouTube's gonna bust me again. Although I shouldn't say bust. I mentioned a few times that YouTube is cracked down on copyright violations. What they do is they send you a notice saying that our algorithm detected that you have so-and-so's music in your video, and you can either acknowledge it or dispute it. If you acknowledge it, they won't take your video down. They just may put ads next to it, like to buy that CD or something like that. So it's not like they block your video or anything. Now, the one time I did get a video blocked, and it's still up, and I guess it's still blocked in some countries, I used 4 or 5 songs that are all public domain in the U.S., and I disputed it in that I believe in the U.S. anybody can watch it, no problem. But I think in other countries they are enforcing those copyrights. In other words, it is not public domain. And I think that's why it's being blocked, but I'm not 100% sure. I haven't really pursued that any further. Anyways, let's get back to this.
10% offer good on bottles 750 milliliters or more. The Muller family invites you to visit their brand new Acura dealership in Maryville, Indiana.
Leaves me kind of torn. Now, obviously, it still has some paper caps in it, and I'm not sure if that electrolytic's original or not. On the other hand, it seems to be working pretty good, other than a dirty volume control. So, I don't know. I'll ponder that. At the very least, I think I should put a fuse in there, because I don't recall seeing one.
Several different programs in place to make your dreams come true without breaking your bank.
sounds okay, but it's not the greatest. I mean, obviously it's just a mono and a small speaker. It sounds alright to me for what it is.
Downtown we have 37, and I have a K-Hits free ride coming up right now. It's brought to you by McGrath Lexus of Westmont. I got 104 minutes of nothing.
23 de noviembre, 9 p.m. este 6 p.m. Pacífico. Utiliza tu control remoto u ordena ya en Xfinity.com.
This powerful report could make the difference between struggling financially during retirement and fully enjoying.
The judge ordered him to spend 3 months in rehab for anger management. Meanwhile,
we're the bad news. We're the young guns. We're the ones that they told you to run from.
I'm all the way at the end, and there's still 1 or 2 more stations, so I think the dial pointer's off a little bit. So that'll be something to address. I'm going to have to tweak the oscillator trimmer a little bit. That was before when I was at 93.9. I was right around where that dot is, whereas it should have been over here. Perhaps I spoke a little too soon. I just tried powering the radio up again. I got 117 online, and the FM band is completely dead again. I've tried flipping the band switch a few times. There's
3, 1, 2, 3.
There's FM. So definitely something weird going on. Maybe there's a loose tube, maybe a loose connection, maybe it is that switch like I've been speculating. I don't know, but certainly some work remains to be done on this radio. And finally, here's a look at the radio on top of a blonde VT71 with its original finish. This is one of the Eli Buck auction sets I got earlier this year. So that is an original finish. So comparing the two finishes side by side, they actually are a closer match than I originally thought. The colors virtually identical. Slight difference in the grain. But otherwise, pretty darn good match. And as you can see, the knobs are pretty much the same too, just slightly different diameters. And the same logo. So these are going to look really nice, either side by side or on top of each other like I've got them right now. So that'll be it for this video. When will I get around to this? I think in the not too distant future, since it's already partially working and I've inspected the chassis. I think it'll be a good candidate for a Friday night restoration project. I hope you enjoyed this look at a 1948 Motorola AM FM radio, model 77X-M22. Don't leave just yet. Another package just arrived in the mail, so I might as well include it in this video. You may recall a while back I picked up an 8-inch Motorola 9L1 portable suitcase TV, and it was missing its antenna. Well, I kept my eyes open on eBay, and some months later I found somebody selling a portable Motorola TV antenna, and I won it. My minor problem is that it's missing one of the balls that go on the end of the rabbit ears. This guy. Well, I've said it before, I'll say it again, it's amazing what shows up on eBay. What is in this tube is, no, not just a plastic ball for the end of one of these, it's one entire ear. And what are the odds that somebody on this planet would have just one ear of a Motorola portable TV antenna and put it on eBay and I would see it? Somebody else actually bid on it, and I think they bid 33 cents, and I outbid them at 50 cents. So, sorry if you're one of my viewers, but I really wanted to complete this antenna. So all I gotta do is unscrew this and pop this ear on, and I will have one complete intact antenna. Now, something else on eBay that I didn't win is somebody was selling a complete matching set of knobs for either a Motorola VT105 like this, or VK106, or a few other models. I did bid on that, and somebody outbid me at the last second, which is alright, because I don't know if I wanted to pay quite that much, seeing as how I really didn't need a whole set of knobs. So what I did do is, I think I showed this in an earlier video, I popped these off of my VK106. So I think I still might need to track down one or two knobs. Plus, this isn't a perfect color match, but I have seen some reference photos, and I got some advice from some of you guys that have seen this stuff before, that indeed the outer knob should be larger to match this. So it may not be a perfect color match, but this is the correct set of knobs for this set. I think this is really going to be the end of this unboxing video.